Welcome back to the second Tirana meeting here of Pax Europiana, Günther Fehlinger, and the process of founding the Albanian Austrian Society, and also here on the tour, obviously, Westwende, Zeitenwende. This is what I call for Albania. I don't see the Zeitenwende. I don't see the Zeitenwende in the Balkans. I don't see it, and it's also not happening. We have to start to react. We have to react in Germany, in Austria, in all Europe. We have to act to the Russian aggression. This is now more than 1 year, and we have made some progress in some areas, but in many areas we are stuck again, and this is not acceptable. In the short version, you see here the NATO flag, the Montenegro flag, of course the Albanian flag, the Austrian flag, Ukraine flag. Of course, all countries must be in the EU, in NATO, in the Euro. So I'm calling for Albania to be in the Euro, like Montenegro, Ukraine to adopt the Euro, and Austria to join NATO, and of course Macedonia, Albania and Montenegro to be in the European Union. And of course Serbia is not ready for the European Union as long as it has not recognized Kosovo. That's of course very clear. And of course the situation is that we need to isolate Serbia if they don't really do that. I will also be active on that one in the coming days. I will let you know, but this is now here in Tirana. I will focus on the Albanian topics. 4 things are basically missing here. This is obviously the euro. This is a big investment package of 6 billion euro for the next 6 years for Albanian infrastructure alone, not part of the Western Balkan initiative, but a separate 6 billion fund for Albanian infrastructure, and not as loans, but as grants. This must be done also in the other countries, actually, who are in NATO. Not for Serbia, obviously, only after recognition, but a similar fund, a bigger one than from Serbia in case of recognition. That is probably the double the sum, I would estimate, and that will be necessary and is also appropriate in case of recognition of Kosovo. But also for Montenegro 6 billion, for Macedonia 6 billion, for Kosovo 6 billion, and for Bosnia 6 billion. This is about the level it takes over the next 6 years, I would estimate roughly, not in loans, in grants, because they will trigger off more loans and more investment, and that's what we need additionally to IPA, additionally to what is budgeted now. This should come from the victory bonds, which I will outline in this presentation. Yes. Again, I make it very clear what we need to do. And this is, of course, the neutrality is immoral. I had yesterday in Twitter Spaces a very long debate, actually very interesting, with Ireland. And I hope it moved something. I learned that Ireland was totally ready to join NATO in '49 from the beginning. We wouldn't have the mess, but they were not ready. The Irish were not ready to recognize the Northern Ireland. Yeah? This was the problem here, and that's why they didn't join, and that's still a big topic. But I make it as well clear, Ireland must join NATO, and there will be no unification of Ireland, just to make it very clear for my new friends who follow maybe my podcast now. The thing is, with the United Kingdom and Ireland, they have to be both in EU, NATO and the Euro. This is how we heal conflicts, and that's the same as well in the Balkans. It was between Germany and Italy, France and Germany, everywhere. This is the way to go ahead. So coming to my presentation, I always introduce myself. Yes, neutrality is immorality, and it's irresponsible and against EU solidarity. We must make sure that we are very clear here, and as a chair of the Austrian Committee for Kosovo, Austria, Bosnia, Ukraine and the EU in NATO, I'm calling for exactly this, NATO membership for these 4 countries, but also for Malta, also for Cyprus, also for Moldova, I never forget it, and also for Georgia, my dear friends, Georgia. We must make that very clear that we work in that direction. And we have also Georgia in the West, in the EU, and the EU candidate status now for Georgia and for Kosovo. This is the 2 countries which are missing out in the 2020 round. We have to make that happen. Yes. And then I call very clearly for the supervised, assisted and limited EU membership. In the beginning, the EU membership for the new countries, the all 9 countries which are eligible now, they must be a little bit assisted, supervised and limited. Yeah? I say EU membership, yes, absolutely, with voting rights, but maybe some limitation on voting rights, and also with international assistance to supervise the process, because we have made a difficult experience and it has tainted the enlargement process, and the experience with Romania and Bulgaria, and 9 others will be even more complicated. So they must be in, because only inside they can develop faster, and we have more access to their institutions, and we can additionally do a supervision process. Yeah? This is what we should do. It is possible, I agree completely. I will share maybe some of this presentation as well here, because I'm very clear here. There I have what we had the courage in the 2000s with Bulgaria and Romania, and then Croatia as well. This was extremely good, and I'm very happy about that one. George Bush, he oversaw NATO enlargement, EU enlargement. This was the right policy. We need this courage again, and we need to be fast again. We need the free allies here in. And then, of course, Ukraine, Moldova, and now Georgia as well. And of course, then also to have then Bosnia and Kosovo. And the last puzzle piece is Serbia after it has turned to the West. And then I'm also in Austria very active. Some of the activities I will outline. I'm calling for fast-track opening of the labor market, also for this infrastructure initiative, for the euro for all, I will talk more about it, but also for a Schengen-associated status. It's very good that Kosovo now gets visa liberalization, but now, that's a bit old news in a way. We should have done that 10 years ago, and 10 years ago we gave visa liberalization to the countries of the Western Balkans, but Kosovo. So what we need now is also very clear. We need a Schengen-associated status. Yeah? That means that these countries basically need a complete assisted program to fast-track into Schengen, and basically to associate them with Schengen already in 99%. Yeah? Maybe not full membership with voting rights and the full rights, there can be some kind of shades of gray here, but more or less to work an ambitious 2 years program to get them into a Schengen associated status. And of course, Romania, Bulgaria must be in Schengen. This is absolutely necessary. Then we have also the euro. That's my big campaign. Everybody who follows me knows that we need the euro in Albania, we need it in Montenegro, we have it already in Kosovo, we have it already in Bosnia, we need it in North Macedonia, and we need it fast. Yeah? And that's exactly what we need to do in order to have it also in Ukraine, in Moldova, and Georgia. I campaign for that. And obviously to have it in Romania, in Bulgaria, in Poland, in Sweden, in Denmark, and all the countries, because it's a big problem that somehow delegitimizes our whole project when we don't have it everywhere. And of course, it's deflationary to have more countries into the euro. Of course, it's also good for the market transparency, for the consumers, for the citizens, for the business, for all the reasons we did the euro, for a reason. And so that's very good. And also in the case of war-torn countries like Ukraine, it is the best firm fundament for the reconstruction. Otherwise, the reconstruction will not work. We need the euro for that. Minimum a euro pack, but if you do a euro pack, then euroize Ukraine, because then it's ultimately 100% clear what is happening in the future, that Ukraine will join the EU because it has already the European currency, and so we create facts on the ground fast, and the customs union, and that's how this needs to be done. In Austria, unfortunately, the debate is going in quite a different and worrying direction. I'm always calling worrying direction because Orban, backed by Putin and Schüssel, they are doing a lot of things here negatively, and they have basically Romania, Bulgaria and Schengen, they have blocked them. This was absolutely wrong, I repeat. Romania should of course recognize Kosovo, and Bulgaria and Romania should join the Eurozone. But what is necessary is obviously that this axis of evil is broken, and that Austria returns to the West, joins NATO, that Hungary joins the Eurozone, and that Vučić and Serbia recognize Kosovo. Obviously, that is extremely necessary. And we have this worrying trend that Orban is making this kind of Austrian-Hungarian Axis alliance with the Croatian president, with Putin backing with the Rosatom nuclear. Again, I call for Austria to have a nuclear power station in Upper Austria. I have to correct myself. In the past I was for Freistadt. Now I think what I heard, it's better to have it in Enns. because of the Danube and the water necessity, so that's probably the better way. But we need a European, American nuclear energy cooperation, not a Russian. Obviously, Russian Rosatom project in Pax must be sanctioned and it must be cancelled. And obviously all countries in the EU should join the EU training mission for Ukraine and also help with the ammunition factor supply, joint ammunition production for Ukraine, Slava Ukraine, absolutely necessary. Also I call on Albania and Montenegro, Macedonia, all the allies, mobilize your industrial capacities, yeah? Produce ammunition, deliver it for Ukraine as fast as possible. Everybody, especially if you have the old Soviet style kind of machinery, bring it and do things and help Ukraine to win. We need ammunition, we need it now. The supplies are really low. We need to fight for this, and all countries can make a contribution. We have to then make it very clear that all the Soviet legacy in the nuclear energy, in the infrastructure of gas, in the infrastructure of whatever, in the machinery, in everything has to be removed. Yeah? The Soviet Union must disappear in its industrial, military, energy, infrastructure legacy from the European continent. Yeah? Not just in the monuments, but also in nuclear, also in energy, also in military, in all aspects. The Soviet Union must disappear from the European continent and from the monuments. By the way, the Schwarzenberg monument, destroy it immediately. And then, of course, to join the EU training mission, to deliver the tanks to Ukraine, and to make that very fast. Yeah? I call here, as in Montenegro as well, and Albania here is a decisive country in that debate, because of course Albania can deliver a lot of weapons as well, but Albania must leave the Open Balkans project of Serbia. This is very wrong. This alliance of Serbia with Albania is very worrying and has to stop. Yeah? We don't need open Balkans for anybody, for Russia or for China. We need a European Balkans open to the EU and to us. This is the future in NATO and in the EU. This is what we need to do, and we need to do it fast. Yeah? Then we need to isolate Serbia because of their pro-Russian policy. This is absolutely very clear, and this is what we will do. And we need to make Serbia an offer as well. We need to make Serbia the offer for the euro as the currency in exchange for the recognition of the Republic of Kosovo and the West integration. Never forget, tomorrow is the day when Zoran Djindjic was killed 20 years ago in order to stop West integration of Serbia. So West integration of Serbia must be the aim, but not by appeasing nationalistic pro-Russian Serbia, but by confronting. That's the big mistake of Mr. Cholet and also Mr. Lajčák. They always say, give in, give in, give in, then we have no war, we can focus on Ukraine. Yeah, well, fine, yeah, but we solve nothing. We have to confront Mr. Vučić and his nationalists. If there is a breakdown in Serbian public order, yes, that's very tragic for them, but, you know, they have to recognize, otherwise there will be no EU funding. They don't believe any kind of promises, otherwise we must confront the problem and not to appease it. This is the basic principle of politics, which unfortunately we somehow forgot since 2008. Yeah? Ukraine obviously must be in the Euro and in NATO and in the EU, and that's faster the better, and we have to all work together. I call again here in Albania and in Montenegro for Ukraine to join CEFTA, to join the European, the whole mechanism which the EU has built up, the Regional Cooperation Council. I'm sure you know already all of that, but this is very important that this policy is in that way. The EU ally Montenegro should be in 2024, so it's very important to have here bilateral friendship and cooperation. And of course, ally Albania and Macedonia, which are a bit less developed than Montenegro, need to be as well in that level of support. And then and the EU, of course, yeah. So then we have the EU candidate to organize EP elections for observer MEPs. That's what I'm calling in Albania as well. We can do that. We have done that in Croatia, in Austria at the times. Once the decisions are clear, then to organize already observer MEP elections. They will be already integrated in the work of the European Parliament. They can supervise the final accession process, and they can serve a lot of useful purposes, and that's very much the way. I'm also calling for EU observer elections and for all parties to be integrated in the major political families. This is what we need to do. We need also in EPP, in ALDE, in the Liberals, in the Socialists, in the Greens and in the Conservatives to have these 5 political party groups integrated. And this is what I hope will happen. There's nothing in ALDE. I'm considering to recommend Mr. Mehta for that one and his Liberty Party. I'm also then recommending Berisha's party to go to ECR. And I'm recommending then, obviously, because we have a division in the PD, the smaller one, I don't think they will be very relevant, but then the EPP, if they don't take Berisha, they will end up with the smaller group, and ECR will be much stronger. That is the logic here. And then with ALDE, obviously, Mehta's party, the Liberal Party of Kyrimadia, is the logical option here. There can be some new project, but I doubt that this is so easily feasible, because we have to work with the reality of the country, not with the fantasy of whatever one wishes. And with the Green Party, I think also there is good possibility for a division of the socialists into a Green and in the socialist camp. I would also argue for that. And I think that here Arion Villia is a really very good candidate for the Green Party. And then also Socialist Party, I think after the Gonigal crisis, and they will go into a very difficult, and they have a lot of corruption to face. There's a lot of indictments of this Tahiri, of this Abem Ahmedai. You know, there is a lot of legal problems awaiting, so the future is very dark for the Socialist Party, but they will also recover probably in 2 different entities, one green and clean, and one which stays in this corrupt reality. And so what we need on the European level, obviously, that's very important. We need on the European level to have this 2 trillion euro fund, which is for the Ukraine reconstruction and for the interconnectivity of Eastern Europe. And then we need to also have a very specific package inside this, I call it the victory bonds. And I think that for Albania, 6 billion euro is the right level. So we need 6 billion euro fund for Albania from EU grants, not from these loans as they always do and some minimal equity, but really 6 billion, 1 billion per year from 2024 to 2030. And then to build all this, or co-fund, because it's not enough money even for that. You know, probably we need 4 times the money, but some can be done by the private sector, some with loans, some from the government resources. You know, the railways must be done, the highways must be done, the water infrastructure, the waste infrastructure. This is huge. This is huge effort still to be done, and that's what I'm calling for, and this is very important. And similar packages must be done also in Montenegro, in Kosovo, and in Macedonia and in Bosnia, and after recognition of Kosovo from Serbia as well in Serbia. And this is very important for the main project, which is, of course, the fast-track railway passenger train along the Adriatic coast via Montenegro, Croatia, Montenegro, towards Patras in Greece. And then, of course, the railway inside the Balkans. And I repeat always that even 20 years ago, 120 years ago, the emperor opened in Trebinje the railway station. That's in Bosnia. That's a place we have not even reached with a highway today, to our great shame. And that train was continuing to Selenica in Herzegovina. That was the possibility of the Austrian imperial, because economically, a union has also the task to organize and fund and pool resources to develop the infrastructure for its whole territory. The EU has in the Balkans failed, because we should have done 20 years ago, to make a plan what it all costs and then to pay it from the European Union, because to have the idea that Montenegro has the money for its highways and railways is totally ludicrous. And also you need, as I've done a separate video, also the same infrastructure level for the energy infrastructure, to invest into the transmission lines in all these areas and to do that. And that's, of course, very necessary. And then we need also the Albanian highway to Greece, very important. And then we need also to catch up for Albania. And in my view, this can only happen inside the European Union, because Albania, the central part, there are three statistical EU NUTS regions. That's 37% of EU average here. That's not very in the center, in Tirana. But both the south and the north, the three regions, have only 27. That's about like Sanjak and some parts of Bulgaria. Today, unfortunately, they are still very poor. And so this is really not very good, yeah. And I think given the centralism and the failed development concept here, this is very problematic. Montenegro is already at 49, so we have to really catch up faster here. And economically, Albania can only develop inside the European Union because there is better governance and there is more juristic access, clearer regulatory. And the idea that we leave Albania outside and it will develop someday, and it is a completely nonsense. Yes. I campaigned for this also in Austria. I was focusing on the NATO membership and also on the trade agreements and also on the open labor market, because what we also need is the Austrian labor market to be open for all Albanians, because that's one way to help, because the people come, acquire skills, send remittances, have interchange, learn to adopt to the European way of working, and that's very, very important in the education sector, and it helps all of us. But we also need then integration and membership. This is of course a preparation, and that's why I'm calling for that. And here today in this meeting again, I call for Zeitenwende for Albania, a new government, a new approach from the EU with a 6 billion investment fund. I call for the EU membership and of course for the Euro for Albania, and also to have activities in all our common efforts, and that's what we should do, and that's what I'm working in the coming years to achieve exactly this. And I want to thank you very much for your attention. If you have some questions, let's be in touch. If you want to join our efforts, let me inform you and include in the WhatsApp group, or on Facebook we will be also very active, and also here on videos, and mainly I'm communicating on Twitter these days to build up a broad following to call for Albania in the European Union. I call for all my friends in Europe, please, Albania needs EU membership. It's a good ally. Let's never forget, it's a good ally, but it can do more. It can support Ukraine in the NATO, that they have not done here. It can adopt the euro, that's very helpful for Kosovo, to be united between Kosovo and Albania in one euro, one currency, one customs union, and of course to support also Montenegro by leaving the open Balkans, and also to support Austria by joining NATO. This is an invitation Albania can do. And also we all should deliver more weapons, arms and ammunition to Ukraine for the victory of Ukraine. This is very important. That's what I'm calling for. Here we all, Montenegro, Albania and also Austria, can do much more, and that's what we should. Slava Ukraine, and for Albania and the European Union, and please adopt the euro. Thanks a lot. All the best. Bye.